Welcome back to yet another video. How are you guys doing? Um, we have a problem in Africa, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about this as much as they should. But there is a problem that has been going on, I think, for the past 5 years now, and that is the problem with drugs. Um, One of the countries that have been impacted severely is the country of Seychelles. Seychelles is like a jewel of Africa, and they are doing everything right there. The economy is good, the currency is good, everything seems to be going well in Seychelles. But unfortunately, they have a drug problem. And you will think that because Seychelles is a small island, um, they know who's coming and who's going, they would be able to control this, but it seems like it's more complicated than that. Anyway, this time they're going to, let's see, they're going to elections today. Seychelles holds early voting as many in the nation worry about drug crisis and environment. uh yeah, I've seen documentaries made about Seychelles, like people who go to Seychelles, they see that there's a problem with drugs and substance abuse. I don't know if it's because people can afford to buy it or there is something else going on there. Early voting Thursday started across Seychelles as concerns over drug crisis and environmental challenges faces nation weigh heavily on the minds of many as they choose a new presidential and parliament. President Wavel Ramakalwan hopes to hold on the top post in the tourist haven and Africa's smallest country, both in land and population. Yeah, like Seychelles don't actually have much of land. They don't have a lot of people there. Like it's one of the best places, not only in Africa but on earth to live. Um, but they find themselves in a really difficult position of drugs. And they are not the only country, by the way, in Africa that struggle with this. And recently in Botswana, we just had uh, hello. PC stands for Paris and Chip. Hi. So yeah, Seychelles, they're going to vote their next president, and Ramakawan, an Anglican priest and politician, became the first opposition leader since 1976 to defeat the ruling party when he made his sixth bid and blah 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 blah. Anyway, thank you so much for the likes. Yes, this is what is going on in a country so beautiful and so, like, if you see the pictures of Seychelles, you see like beauty. That's what like your holiday destination should be, but they are also struggling with drugs and stuff. And I used to think that drugs are tied to uh not having enough, and you just kind of like have to, do something to forget your situation. But I believe that a lot of people in Seychelles have enough money. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Please leave that like button, hit that like button. We're talking about Africa and drugs, and something that I think a lot of people are not taking seriously. Maybe because we also have so many other problems going on in Africa, so it's hard for people to just like focus on something that doesn't seem like a big issue for now. But it is a big issue because when you watch the news in different African countries, you see that there is a problem of drugs and drug abuse and all the things and death related to drug abuse. And if we don't talk about it now, then it will be too late by the time we start talking about it. It will be like the HIV/AIDS pandemic, where it's like, okay, there's something going on, but do we address it now or we wait? And then by the time you wait, half population is gone. So yeah, countries like Seychelles are struggling, and countries like Botswana are struggling with drugs as well. Right now, it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I know like there are problems going on in Africa, but what is exactly going on? Why are people pushed to these substances? And for countries like Seychelles, where they are isolated, they are able to monitor who's coming in, what like they are able to search who's coming in, like how are they finding themselves in this predicament? Seychelles has struggled with growing drug crisis. A 2017 United Nations report described the country as a major drug transit route. Major. That means they are used as a distributing place, which is like, wow, how is that possible? The Global Organized Crime Index stated in 2023 that the island nation has one of the world's highest rate of heroin addiction. An estimated 6,000 people out of Seychelles' population of 120,000 use the drug, while independent analysts say addiction rates approach 10%. Most of the country's population live in the island of Mehe, home of the capital of Victoria. I'm talking about Seychelles because they're also going to elections, but I know that here there's an article here that popped up as well about a French Navy sees, let's see, French Navy sees nearly 10 tons of cocaine off West African coast. So yeah, it's happening in West Africa as well. I think countries like Ghana, they find themselves also in that space. French Navy has seized nearly 10 tons of cocaine worth $610 million off the coast of West Africa. French authorities have said the two French naval vessel operating as part of Operation Cariombe intercepted the enormous cocaine haul from an unflagged fishing vessel on Monday, acting on a tip-off from Maritime Intelligence, Anti-Drug Authorities, and British National Crime Agency. So you can tell that already we are surrounded by multiple drug supply. I think countries like Gambia have also reported that. France is in the Gulf of Guinea since 1990 to ensure security and in an area where piracy is fairly common. So the French are there just to like deter the the pirates of West Africa, but they find themselves having to deal with um, ships, unflagged ships, fishing ships. That sounds like delicious stuff. Anyway, they find themselves surrounded by this unmarked ships that are carrying lots and lots of drugs, either from or going to Africa. It added that 54 tons of drugs have been intercepted in the area since the beginning of the year. France Atlantic Maritime said seamless cooperation by national and international across the fight actors in the fight against narcotics had led to the remarkable seizure of 9.6 tons of cocaine. The Gulf of Guinea, off west coast of Africa, has seen multiple drug busts in recent months. You can tell that the country of Guinea, on their own, they couldn't be able to deal with what is going on there. And it's good that they who have the French military. Thank you so much. Jesus loves you too, David. Thank you. So yeah, in the region was considered the world's most dangerous area for maritime piracy, surpassing the waters of Somalia. Several Western countries have sent ships to help tackle piracy in the region. Yeah, there was a time when the West African countries or West Coast of Africa was a very dangerous place to be. Thank you so much for joining in. Please hit that like button. If you're here for the first time, hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell too so you don't miss any of the uploads. Okay, I'm here talking about African countries, African problems, and how can we improve. Sometimes I have suggestions, sometimes I have questions. So thank you so much for joining here, joining the community. I appreciate you. So A record cocaine seizure of 10.7 was made in March last year, which was the biggest interception in illegal trade off the coast of West Africa. So there is a lot going on right there in the West African part of the world. It seems like it's busier than that. Like, I'm sure there are so many other uh, drugs that were not intercepted um, in those regions, and it's really difficult to see that a continent that already has problems outside of drugs and now find themselves entangled with the drugs and substance abuses. Let's see. There's so many countries that you wouldn't even think of that are dealing with different kinds of drug addiction, drug related deaths. Um, and when you're also thinking about diseases and stuff like that. So in South Africa, one of the biggest, most beautiful countries in Africa or in the world, really, they're also dealing with that. And I think they've been dealing with that for a very long time. And they are one of the countries that in the southern part of Africa, they have dealt with that the most, and they're still dealing with that. So South Africa police say they have dismantled a crystal meth laboratory with drugs worth $20 million. That's a lot of money in South Africa. $20 million. Wow, discovered on a farm in the east of the country. Okay. I almost said something about farms in South Africa, but I'm not gonna say that because it's a political thing. I have talked about it before, but five people from a North American country have been arrested, while two others believed to be from West African countries fled the scene, a statement said. Whoa, this is interesting. Obviously, they don't. It's so funny when the news people are trying to be slick. this was this was published on Monday, by the way. So on Monday, South African police have released a statement saying, we have two North African people here. No, five people from North Africa. That's basically the USA. Um, it's high unlikely that it could be people from Canada, but they say every time you see somebody say North American country, they mean like the USA. Afe, that's my opinion. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, 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 hi. Um, yeah, we're talking about drug abuses in Africa, and one of the countries that I know for sure they've been struggling with this type of thing is South Africa. Police photographs show industrial manufacturing equipment along with weighing scales and lunch boxes filled with illegal drugs. My goodness, this is crazy. Like they have a whole like lab out there in South Africa doing drugs and stuff. In 2022, Global State of Harm Reduction report, South Africa was described as one of the largest crystal meth consumer market in the world. Wow, that is crazy. Um, its geography and porous borders make it an ideal transit point for illicit drugs, the UNSA. In Friday's raid, on the farm at Volksrust, 225 kilometers mile east of Johannesburg. The police also seized a pellet gun loaded with blanks. The farm caretaker, who also been arrested, was found with 3 live rounds. And these guys are armed. This is how dangerous it is, because it's not only just drugs, it's also like guns involved. Like already you can tell that, this is a problem that they're going to be dealing with out there in South Africa, and you already know that countries in Southern Africa are also going to follow suit. I'm thinking of countries like Zimbabwe, Namibia, Zambia, Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini. They already will be entangled in the scheme because South Africa is like one cool brother in that area. So you already know once you can capture the hearts of South Africans, then obviously the others will just easily follow. The police have been acting on a tip off, with the informant reporting a strange chemical smell emitting from the premises of the farm, which raised suspicions of illicit drug manufacturing. Yeah, they thought, yeah, we are in a remote area, 250 kilometers away from Joburg. And South Africa is a very big country with very huge farms. Like you can run a farm. Anyway, I'm not giving you guys any ideas, but you already know how um, those things work. We applaud the community members who continue to work with the police and provide valuable tip offs. Intelligence driven operation are ongoing, and we as the police will stop at nothing in our quest to collapse the illicit drug trade. Pumalanga Acting Commissioner Major General Zef Mkhwanazi says. So it's good that the police in South Africa are dealing with this and they are working with the community. And this is one of the things that I think people don't realize. We think that the police are like heroes. I mean, they are to some extent, but I think as Africans, we have to take charge. That's the word. Wow, why did take charge take a long time to come? We have to take charge. Like we have to realize that we are the ones that should be building our countries, should be building our continents, should be building our villages, our towns, our cities. And once we just let everything slide, seems like also like petty crimes. There are videos actually trending that I don't like, those kind of videos where um there is somebody who's baiting people with a phone. I think it happens in Uganda or Kenya or something like that. And it really shows how people would are eager to take someone else's phone. And it shows that the government or the people kind of let it happen. Like we don't condemn those type of things. It's labeled as petty crimes when somebody steals the phone. And there are videos, I mean, millions and millions of people are watching those videos. And I'm sure their perception of Africa is like, okay, when you get to Africa, just make sure you put your phone somewhere, like don't, but that's not how we're supposed to be living as human beings. You're supposed to have freely talk on your phone wherever, whenever, without having to fear that your life will be taken for a cell phone. But as a lot of people that I've seen in African countries, we kind of let this crime slide, and then we expect our countries to, I don't know, be labeled as good, but it just takes snitching to get things done. Okay, so like I encourage snitching. We should be able to uh, snitch on people if they are destroying our lives. We shouldn't be labeling stealing cell phone in 2025 as petty crimes. That as petty crime, I feel like that shouldn't be a thing. Like when the USA is putting out a travel advisory for its citizens, they tell them like, oh, this country is safe, but there is petty crimes, like people might steal your cell phones and stuff like that. Like that shouldn't be like a thing that people are warned about, that cell phones are like on high demand. And also, how do you guys do that with the phones? Because like, aren't phones nowadays logged and you don't have access? Like it's useless to steal cell phones, but people still do, because I'm telling you guys, there are videos upon videos, content, like somebody's content is just going around dangling a makeshift phone in a city somewhere in Africa and watch people trying to steal it. That's the content. And we are letting this happen, you know. We are letting that go. We are just accepting this. This is our fate. Like, oh, like the government is not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna do anything. This is what's frustrating. We have to like stand up for our countries. We have to stand up for our continent. And if we don't talk about drug crisis happening in Africa, nobody else will. And by the time other people are coming in, we'll start having conspiracy like they are the ones who introduced drugs. But wow. So Stand up right now, wherever, whichever your country is in Africa, expose this problem, talk about it, because how many more people should die before we take drug abuse in Africa seriously? That's my question. That's what I want to know. Like, why, when you talk about Africa, none of this thing is appearing? Why people not talking about this crisis in Africa, especially Africans? I'm not talking about people that are not African. I'm talking about Africans are not, even content creators, they don't talk about this crisis. But there have been documentaries as far as 5 years back, and I think the countries like Gambia was also one of the um, problems. The countries that had a crisis with drug abuse, and I think some people, to some extent, I think some people were exhuming uh, human bones to smoke them. That's how bad it was. I don't know. I heard that and I was like, "Eesh, that sounds like a zombie thing." Um, yeah, so that's what we are dealing with. Thank you so much for watching this, guys. We're talking about a very serious topic here today. Um, that people seem to ignore because we are caught up in in the politics of the world. If you are here for the first time, hit that like button, man, so a lot of people can see this. A lot of African people can see this. Also, leave a comment down below. What do you think of this? I know this is not like an isolated African thing. It's a global thing, but it seems like for the longest time Africa was spared of this, and now it's becoming even more and more apparent that uh, there is a problem. So let me know in the comment section where you're watching from. And I know this is not an African thing, but for now, I'm just talking about African stuff because that's basically what this YouTube channel is for. The drug crisis is a global problem, but it seems like it's becoming bad and bad in Africa. Um, Many places I've been around the world, they do have their own thing going on, and it's obvious. It's there. You see people that are addicted just on the streets. It's a sad thing to see, actually. um there's an article that an Australian published this this past July, and they it's good that other people from outside of Africa are seeing this. A deadly wave of drug addiction have swept across Africa, causing fear and chaos. With the rapid spread of new, largely untested synthetic drugs, a public health crisis has risen. Individuals are turning to cheap and accessible drugs to escape issues such as unemployment, poverty, a lack of essential medication, and appropriate health care. When it comes to drugs and what do you call it, poverty and stuff like that, I don't think it's just that. Yes, there are some levels to that, but when you look at rich countries like the UK, the USA, Western countries, let's just say, um, they're also struggling with this. But you would think that in those countries, the economy is going good, people have employment, people are working, better jobs, better schools, better healthcare. People have access to all these other things in rich countries. So I feel like if we are gonna categorize drug crisis in Africa as something uh, linked to unemployment, poverty, lack of essential medication, and appropriate healthcare, I think that's not true. I don't think that's actually true, because there is a problem even in rich countries, there's a problem in poor countries, there's a problem in rich countries. This is a human problem. It's not necessarily tied to any of that, because I see that in quote unquote rich countries where people have access to employment, where uh, yes, you might get fired from your job, but you have the chance to finding another job the following day, or depending on what kind of job you are working. So I know that in Africa is going to be categorized as like, oh, it's unemployment, poverty, and lack of medication, what. By 2030, there's a predicted to be 40% increase in amount of drug users in Africa. And mind you, Africa is the youngest, has the youngest population. So all those young people that are in the continent might end up being addicts themselves, and the young generation that the whole world is looking to by 2030 might be destroyed by the substance abuse. And this is a sad reality by 2030, 40% increase in drug users in Africa. This is sad. Hi guys, what's up? Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're here for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell too, so you don't miss any of the uploads on this channel. And then hit that like button right now, because we are talking about a serious issue that is going to impact Africans, and we need to raise as much awareness as we possibly can. So if you hit that like button, maybe the algorithm will push these videos to other people that might be watching this now or in the future. West Africa, Kush, an addictive synthetic drug, has become an escape for many young Africans dealing with societal issues. The drug surfaced in Sierra Leone, then quickly spread into neighboring countries, sparking concerns due to mass fatalities and severe psychological harm. West African hospitals lack the infrastructure and the capacity to manage the large number of Kush-related cases. Therefore, African government needs to invest in their public healthcare system to better assist addicts. Yeah, sadly, our governments are not going to do much about this, guys. If we are going to be honest, not like what our African governments have done in relation to anything, be it schools, be it like basic human needs, electricity, water, all just the like fundamental things. The government, honestly, in Africa have not done much. And it's sad to say this, but I don't think they are going to do anything when it comes to combating drug related issues. That's just the sad reality of what we are dealing with as Africans. The governments never rise to the occasion, or they will do it, but it will be too late by that time. Like I mentioned earlier, we saw this happening with HIV and AIDS. It started as of like a thing in the Western countries, even though it was affecting many African countries. Many governments didn't take any steps. No African government had an early what do you call response to HIV and AIDS at that time before it became an epidemic. They waited and waited until it was late. And with the drug issues in Africa, if we don't do anything now, if the current young people are not doing anything now, by the time we are older in like 2050s, as older Africans at that time, it will be too late for us to act. So I implore every African to take this and spread it on your social media, read an article about it, see what people are saying about these things in different countries in Africa, and try to spread the message. Because you're watching this now as a young African, and 10 years from now, you might not be in the category of young African. And at that time, this thing would have caught on to the younger coming generation. And at that time, it will be too late for us to act. So if we don't talk about this now, we might not even have the chance to talk about it because many of our friends, our cousins, or people would have succumbed to drug issues. I know when you think of drugs, you're probably thinking, I'm a good Christian, I have crosses in my house. I like, it's far away from me. But only takes one incident where you are frustrated in life, where you are like out there just having fun, maybe taking a little sip of wine somewhere, and somebody say, have you ever been high on a rev? And then before you know it, you're addicted. So everybody, whether you are a Christian or a Muslim, and I think countries like Sierra Leone have a huge number of religious people that might be from the Islam religion, and those people are not supposed to be drinking or smoking these substances, but here we are. So don't wait, young Africa. I know it's annoying when somebody talk about this issues like this because it seems like it's you know what's going on, but this is an issue that we are going through in Africa. Southern Africa, the cheapest produced and sold synthetic drug methamphetamine. Oh my goodness, this is a scientific word, commonly known as ket. I thought it was ketamine. Has gained popularity in South Africa, Botswana, and Eswatini. Ket provides a state of relaxed alertness and can trigger aggression, anxiety, and psychosis. It is made with household detergents, making it accessible to produce and cheap to purchase. This has been a strong response to ket from African law enforcement in 2024. Botswana established a drug enforcement agency, DEA, to help fight against narcotics and reduce criminal activities associated with drugs abuse. Similarly, South Africa police actively monitored the production of ket and frequently raided mobile laboratories. While these responses are effective, there is a further need for straightened laws from African governments that cover the production and sales, distribution of ket, alongside the implementation of appropriate rehabilitation programs and community outreach programs. Yeah, like I said, this is an article written by somebody in Australia or somebody from Australia, talking about the drug problems in Africa. They have different kind of struggles. Like in Southern Africa, they are struggling with drug known as ket. I think it's ketamine. And in West Africa, they're struggling with Kush. That's what they call it. And in East Africa, they're struggling with heroin. And from this article, it seems like the governments are trying to do like what is done naturally is like to enforce the law and make sure that nobody's breaking the law. But for countries like Botswana, they have strict law. You cannot even smoke marijuana. Maybe they will change that now, but it doesn't seem like it's changing anything because a lot of people still end up just smoking anyway. The suggestion will be like rehabilitation, where you take somebody who might be addicted like that and like make them clean and teach them other ways to have fun. And because it's still grassroots, especially in Southern Africa or in Botswana, for example, because it's still a new thing that people are catching on, I feel like if countries can act now, then it will be possible for them to deal with it before it gets serious and big and like out of control. But it doesn't seem like they're doing that. They're just gonna enforce the laws, and it doesn't seem like it's working. An increase in heroin addiction is present in many parts of Africa, particularly Seychelles and Kenya, due to lack of essential medicine. Social issues and surge in drug trafficking through East and Southern Africa Almost half of the population of Africa does not have regular access to essential medicines, such as morphine, pushing people towards easily accessible drugs such as heroin to manage their pain. Expanding access to essential medication is critical to stop Africans from falling into addiction. Yeah, this in, but yeah, like I said earlier, it's just gonna be one of those things where the problem is just gonna be like a cheap thing for Africans. It's gonna be like, yeah, Africans don't have access to medication, so they are using drugs, alternative drugs as sort of medication. I don't think it's true. I think people are using drugs as a recreational thing, and it is not necessarily that somebody has an injury and they don't have access to medication. That's why they have to go buy some kush somewhere. I think it's just like what is happening in developed countries. It's just like people wants to have fun, and sometimes people just end up getting drugs so they can have even more fun. That's basically it. And I think for me as a Christian, this is why I feel like I have to be preaching the gospel to a lot of people to know that, you know what, fun is not necessarily just about what you coming from you. It can also come from God. And yeah, so Christians out there, please spread the message as much as you possibly can, because we need everyone involved in this. Okay, we need to enforce the laws. Obviously, we need to have rehab facilities where people can get clean and also not repeat the same habit. Okay, international templates for Africa to follow. Wow, this is a good article so far. I have never read an article that has solutions on it, because it's always like pointing a finger at somebody and like, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, but they have a solution. Focuses on a collaboration with various stakeholders such as parents, community centers, teachers, and other parties that are in immediate vicinity of young people. The IPM encourages the participation of community members to identify local priorities and intervention strategies. So that's basically what Africa should do. And it's good that it's working in other places, so they can just take that templates and make it work in Africa as well. And teachers are the people that are really close to kids throughout the day at school and stuff like that. They also are quick to pick on behavior. So sometimes parents, you go to work, you're tired, you're not paying attention. And teachers know when a kid is changing. They're like, this guy used to be bad, but this is worse. Or this guy used to be a good guy, but now we don't know. Okay, so those type of things. Similarly, communities that care is also a prevention system that provides communities with tools to address health and behavioral problems of young people through a focus on risk and protective factors like IPM. Relevant community stakeholders are mobilized in proactively minimize risk factors and encourages proactive factors for young people. CTC has been implemented internationally and in Australia with success for the past 2 decades. Yeah. So take note. Go to like our governments, the people that we vote in government should be able to uh benchmark in these countries and see, oh, what worked for you guys, you know what I mean? So what worked for you guys, what can we do? Go to Australia and stuff like that, and check how they dealt, or how are they dealing with their problems. It's actually sad because recently in Botswana there was a huge artist that lost his life, and I'm not saying that it was drug related, but it's alleged that it was. And it was a very big artist that, had a very bright future. And unfortunately, this thing took his life. The drug epidemic in Africa is complex. With the emergence of synthetic drugs, region specific essential medication shortage, and informal detox houses, Appropriate context-specific treatment method with a focus on proven evidence-based models such as IPM can assist in the fight against. I feel like every government premise in Africa should have this article in their websites or something, or reference, or whenever you come to work in a government, you have to have read this article, because doing drugs seems like a cool thing until somebody's addicted and they lose their life. And talking about drugs sometimes is it's what do you call it? It's not like a really, I don't know. It's not like an entertaining thing, because a lot of people might want to be entertained. We're talking about this as we celebrate Botswana's men 4x4 team that just won gold at the World Athletics competition. So if I was to talk about anything, I think we should also direct our young Africans to events such as this, where people are able to. I'm gonna make myself some coffee here. People are able to look at the other examples that we have in Africa, in African youth. The other examples that people from countries like Botswana can dominate in sports. You know what I mean? Like, so that it doesn't become uh, uh anyway. Hey, thank you so much for checking this out. I think I should end this live and maybe start a one that I'm celebrating Botswana team for real, for real. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining this. I'll see you guys on the other side. Bye.